Welcome everybody to today's meeting. To officially start the meeting, I would like to announce that this meeting will be recorded and shared amongst members for study and self-reflection. In order to have a smooth meeting, here are some ground rules. Please put yourself on mute when not speaking. Do not interrupt while someone else is speaking. Be attentive throughout the meeting and support the speakers with your warm jazz hands. If you would like to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now I'd like to pass it over to our club. Bring up Mr. Michael Liu as our host today.
Hello, everyone. I will be the host for the speech for today. And I would first like to call on the timer, Horace Taylor, to say his duties.
As the timer, I am responsible for keeping track of time. For prepared speeches that are 5 to 7 minutes, at the 5-minute mark, my background will turn green. At the 6-minute mark, my background will turn yellow. And at the 7-minute mark, my background will turn red. The speaker should note that they have 30 seconds to conclude their remarks at that point. Back to you, Mr. Huntis.
Thank you for that. I would like to call now upon our first speaker for today, Anson, for his speech.
Good afternoon, Toastmasters, guests, and Gavel. Have you ever wanted to try a sport? Yeah. Well, trying a sport and being successful at it, opposites. A sport I really wanted to commit to and be good at is soccer, or how the rest of the world pronounces it, football. I remember the time 8-year-old me was lying on the floor, watching my iPad 6, seeing how the professionals play. The elegant tiki-taka passing of the Barcelona midfielders and the defending of the defenders of Real Madrid. Moreover, I was truly entranced by the dribbling of Messi and shooting of Ronaldo. Now, I said I was good at watching other people play. But 8-year-old me playing soccer was like training a cat how to bark. It did not go smoothly. Right off the bat, my dad took me to Walmart to get a size 5 ball, which is like the largest ball you can get. I do not know why that was a promising idea since I was only 8, and the ball might have been too much for my powerless legs. My calcium intake was not ideal. The second I try to shoot the ball at an designated area, it would land 20 feet where it's supposed to. It was a mess. Now, I've always been a firm believer in hard work pays off. So for the next couple of months, I worked my butt off, 3 hours of practice on a soccer pitch for 4 days a week, getting a feel of the basic skills like passing, trapping, and shooting. My form improved bit by bit, and the dream of making my elementary school soccer team was not far, until my chubby-dubby era hit. Around the summer of 2019, as we know, that was prime fat gaining time. During quarantine, I focused more on my schoolwork and my grades than soccer, and my time spent on the pitch decreased. It was not until 6th grade that I hit a growth spurt and started losing some weight. I started getting back into the sport of soccer, and my dad even signed me up for rec league soccer, which is like a non-competitive soccer league. As exciting as it was for me, the challenge was hard. I had very poor physique. I have never had to run nonstop up and down a pitch for 90 minutes. And the level of intellect you need to read players astounded me. So I thought the only sensible thing at the time and sit and watch is to sit and watch and I play defense. So for the whole entire season, I let my extremely talented teammate who had 99 dribbling skills carry every single game. Mind you, even though I played soccer for a solid 3 months, I was still very below average at the game. Now, moving on to my second season in the league. I've gotten chances to play forward and midfielding positions, but playing defense really stuck with me, and I chose to play the position of center defense. Tackling and observing action from afar elevated my vision in the game, and I found patterns in terms of where opponents would go and where they would shoot, so I can quickly relocate and move to the spot where they would shoot. Before starting my third season in the rec league, I spent the summer practicing with my dad. I can tell the work paid off because during my third season of rec league, I knew most of the people in the league and their gameplay. Utilizing my defensive skills and an improved offense technique, I started playing more of an attacking midfielder, as I can now steal balls from others and dribble past way more people than I could before. Because of my improved dribbling, I got more shooting chances, and with those shooting chances, I have more goal opportunities. But as time passed, I knew I was getting older, and the league's maximum playing age is 16. I am currently 14. So there are 4 more seasons left for me, and I needed to join a competitive club ASAP, so I can enjoy keep playing. So I can enjoy and keep playing in the sport of soccer. Thank you, and that is.
Thank you for that speech, Anson. I hated sports too. I finally found one that I liked. For our next speaker, I would like to call on our virtual speaker, Jonathan Chen, for his speech.
Hello, everybody. My title for my speech is called The Real Dangers of ChatGPT. A few months ago, in a table topic session, I asked the question, what do you think are the ethical concerns of ChatGPT? And to my utmost surprise, nobody in the meeting, even the youth members, knew what it was. For those who may not be familiar, ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence language model developed and launched by OpenAI in late 2022, and it is capable of generating human-like text. It can compose written content like essays and video scripts, explain complex topics, and even ace the SATs and the bar exam. The technology behind ChatGPT is undoubtedly powerful, but as with any innovation, it brings with it ethical concerns that we must consider. By the way, the introduction I just read was written entirely by ChatGPT. In the last few weeks, it has been on an ambitious killing spree. Timelines overflow with eulogies to its victims, search engines, copywriters, coders, high school essays, and many more. Reports of these impending deaths may be exaggerated. People love to write the words, "This will change everything," only to shrug a year later when this changed very little. ChatGPT might be a game changer. It might not be. Either way, the bot is undeniably impressive. What astounds is its rhetorical muscle, its ability to generate paragraphs of coherent argument or narrative. Obviously, it is not able to match the abilities of great writers, but it instantly surpasses several million others, landing somewhere in the neighborhood of a high school student who is perfectly happy with a B- on their Pride and Prejudice book report. For students today, like me, it is a real temptation. Why waste a perfectly good afternoon scratching out a 5-paragraph essay on Jane Austen's depiction of social class when I could generate a reasonably good piece of work in just seconds? Maybe the eulogies are fitting. Maybe we will outsource writing to ChatGPT like we outsourced math to calculators, spelling to Grammarly, or memory to the internet. The decline of memorization as a teaching method reflects the importance of essay writing in schools, appropriate in a world where the totality of human knowledge is in my pocket. We assign essays because they allow teachers to gauge a deeper understanding in their students. They require not just memory recall, but they require a personal synthesis of information which cannot be outsourced to a machine, or couldn't until a few weeks ago. Pretty soon, English teachers are going to get that question math teachers have been getting for years. When will we ever need this stuff in real life? The truth is that you'll probably never have to use sine, cosine, or tangent once you leave school. And the truth is we'll likely outsource many categories of basic writing to AI and never look back. For other more complex kinds of writing, you can simply start with ChatGPT and let it provide the basic structures and then edit to your liking. Maybe we'll become a culture of editors, tweakers, and embellishers. Would that be so bad? I think it might. The difference between writing and editing is like the difference between writing and reading. Reading is enormously important, obviously. It closes the gaps of our ignorance and expands our knowledge. but it does so through the language of others. It's their words, their sentences, their narratives and arguments. Editing too begins with the language of someone else. In the case of ChatGPT, something else. Language is how human beings understand each other and the world, but writing is how we understand uniquely. Not to write is to live according to the language of others, or worse, through edits, tweaks, and embellishments to language generated by an overconfident AI chatbot. Through writing, I can understand myself, and that's something that AI can never give me. I doubt this argument would convince a high school teen to resist the urge to go to a free magic tool that promises easy grades for less work. As ever, it's left to teachers to impassion their students within a system that prioritizes grades over learning. Often they succeed, but even when they don't, they still do the heroic work of giving insipid high schoolers basic writing competence. As we move forward into a future where artificial intelligence is increasingly present in our daily lives, I encourage you to use ChatGPT as a tool rather than a crutch to replace your own creative ideas. One way or another, new writing is on its way from the future. I think we'll prefer it to be our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that look into the future for us. I would now like to call upon our third speaker, Daniel Wu, for his speech.
Good afternoon, Toastmasters, guests, and Cavaliers. I want to start off the speech by saying, I prepared very little for this speech. Allow me to elaborate. Last night at 10:36 p.m., I was panicking right after I finished my Spanish project because I wouldn't have enough time to work on this speech, and I really needed to. So an idea dawned on me. I will talk about my Spanish food project that's been pressuring me all week. Around 3 weeks ago, my Spanish teacher assigned us our long-anticipated Spanish food project. We were supposed to make an authentic Spanish dish and bring it in to present to other students. We're also supposed to make a video about it. The food I chose were croquetas de pisto, which were vegetable croquettes. The ingredients included red and green bell peppers, potatoes, onions, and breadcrumbs. The first ordeal was making the food itself. The vegetables were easy to chop, but the hard part was coating the croquettes in breadcrumbs. I could coat it in flour just fine, but when it got to the eggs, the croquettes got so mushy that it just slipped right out of my hand. And then I had to fry them with all the hot oil splashing on my arm. But I got through metaphorically and physically. The second ordeal was making the video. I had to say everything in Spanish, and it also had a time limit of 2 to 3 minutes long. It was my first time using iMovie also, so I didn't know what to do and I struggled a bit. The video making process took me around 2 hours, and that's when I got to 10:36. As I panicked, and after I panicked, I started thinking about it. Maybe I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone by finishing my project and by sharing my experiences of making the project in this speech. So all in all, I think it kind of worked out, and that concludes my speech. Thank you.
Perhaps we could try some of those vegetable croquettes sometime. Thank you, Daniel. I would next like to call on our last speaker, Joseph Chen, for his speech.
Hello, everyone. So today I would just like to present a part of a group project that a few of my friends and I did in government and economics. And our topic was federalism in a time of crisis. So I'll first be going an overview of what it is, and then I'll be talking about a specific crisis, the Texas power grid in 2021. And lastly, I will share some of my thoughts on the topic. So what even is federalism? Federalism is a system of governmental structure in which the states are controlled by the state government and managed by the federal government or the national government. Okay, however, according to the 10th Amendment, it states that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. And this amendment essentially attempts to ensure state rights or autonomy by resorting any power not granted by the Constitution to the federal government, to the states. But luckily for you, though, it's even more confusing. That is because of the necessary and proper clause, which states, the Congress shall have power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper. This means that, despite the 10th Amendment's attempt to ensure state autonomy, the government can step into any situation and deem it necessary and proper to intervene. And this also complicates things in terms of responsibility. In October 2022, not too long ago, there was a train crash in Ohio, and in response to that, FEMA, the East Palestine mayor, Trent Conway, said, "I need help. I am not ready for this." After which the government responded by deploying more EPA and senior administration officials to the site. So the problem here is that what happens when some states feel that government management is too controlling and violates each state's autonomy? What happens when the state government isn't working and is causing problems not only for itself, but other states as well? So most importantly, what happens when there's a crisis? So my thesis statement is, or our thesis statement, while it is crucial for states to maintain a certain degree of autonomy, the federal government is responsible for addressing national emergencies. This levels the playing field for lower income states and guarantees that all citizens will receive equal assistance in case of a crisis. All right, let's talk about the Texas power outage. Okay, I want you guys to imagine this. You're in Texas, February of 2021. You see snow, but this isn't the annual heavy frost or light dusting. This is honest to God snow. Then your power goes all out for you and millions of others across Texas. Suddenly, your cell signal dies, electricity goes out, there's no Wi-Fi, dirty water, no heating, and below freezing temperatures. A week later, nothing is fixed. Why? Who is it to blame? So the power failure was caused by a combination of factors, including record low temperatures, high demand for energy, and equipment failures at power plants. The lack of electricity and heat resulted in numerous deaths, damages to the property, and disruptions to essential services like heat, water, and electricity. The crisis sparked a nationwide conversation about the reliability and resilience of the power grid, as well as the need for better preparation when faced with such extreme weather events. So to give some background information on this, in the early 20th century, Texas had a large number of small rural electric cooperatives that were not connected to the national grid. In 1970, ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, was established to manage the state's power grid. The decision was also influenced by Texas' desire to avoid federal regulations and oversights. Today, Texas has a significant amount of energy production capacity, and by having its own grid, Texas could avoid complying with federal rules and standards, allowing for more flexibility and control over its energy resources. But guess what? The grid failed you. ERCOT had one job to do, and they failed. While FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, did provide assistance after the fact, the crisis raised questions about whether the government should invest more in the power grid and implement stronger regulations. So the question we must all ask is, should the federal government provide aid to Texas? Most definitely, yes. Okay, so why should the Fed help Texas? Prior to the storm, the issue was that energy companies like ERCOT avoided paying too much money to improve the resiliency of the power grid. During the storm, the companies cut power to parts of the natural gas supply, when ERCOT ordered to do so in order to further risk damage to the grid. Texas should never be excluded from federal aid because of such poor decision-making. On the other hand, FEMA provided 60 generators, 729,000 liters of water, 60,000 blankets, and 225,000 meals to the people of Texas. Texas state government was unable to provide this level of support without federal intervention. States' rights advocates say no, while most Texans say absolutely. In a survey conducted by environmentalleader.com, over half of the Texans blamed ERCOT on the crisis. Okay, but what about states' rights? Guess what? The Constitution gives states what's called the police power, which means that the power of a state to protect the health, welfare, and safety of its citizens. And this allows the state government to make any laws that support this goal. So what happens if a state like Texas isn't able to effectively carry out these responsibilities? Luckily for Texans, the preamble of the Constitution states that the federal government must ensure domestic tranquility, promote the common defense, and provide for the general welfare, meaning it can step in to help Texas whenever they need it. Richard Beeman, the author of the Penguin Guide to the United States Constitution, states that we, the people of the United States, and that objectives of the government have long been understood to be the primary responsibilities of any government. So ultimately, the federal government's responsibility for national crisis is enshrined in the Constitution. So in conclusion, the federal government does hold the primary responsibility in responding to crises. However, we must also focus on balancing states' rights and a collaboration with the federal government. These states are free to manage a variety of matters without interference from the federal government, including the response to and the prevention of natural disasters. However, for disaster response and prevention to be successful, states and federal government need to work together. There also needs to be a balance between states' rights and collaboration with the federal government that allows for efficient disaster response and prevention while also upholding the state's autonomy. So ultimately, achieving a balance between states' rights and collaboration with the federal government can lead to more efficient response to disasters, increased prevention, and create a higher level of safety and happiness for citizens, which are the most important things in this nation. And that's it. Thank you all for listening. That was really quick, but thank you. Here are my sources. Okay.
Thank you, Joseph, for that informative insight into the current power balance of national politics. So now I would like to begin the panel evaluation for the speakers. So first up will be the evaluation for Anson. And so everyone can speak on this if they have something to contribute.
Anthony, I think you did a very good job. You stood up, your voice is calm. Yeah, you showed a very good confidence in your speech and throughout your speech as well. The later part was even smoother than the beginning part. So very good job.
I liked how prepared you were, and especially like when you were talking, you didn't stutter, like you barely stuttered at all. And then you were really calm. It was just the whole thing was very even and it was really nice.
The content was nice too, really. It was very interesting. I wanted to hear every word.
Only counted 2 filler words. I think you said light once and once, but other than that, it was pretty smooth. Good job.
Thank you.
One thing I would work on is, a lot of people are doing it when they're giving their speech. There's a lot of dancing. You know, maybe nervousness and jitters, but I'll probably do it too, but just something to be focused on.
Okay, I have a couple of notes for you, Anson. I thought it was an excellent use of your notes. You knew how to and where to refer to the notes, and then you were able to get right back on track and continue to speaking as though you weren't using your notes. But I did notice one thing. You have this, maybe I can demonstrate it a little bit. you have this rocking motion. It's almost as if you were nervous, right? You're kind of doing one of these motions every so often. So I would just say be aware that you tend to rock a little back and forth. But you had, as already stated, excellent vocal quality, excellent vocal variety. You sounded really good out here in TV land, right? We can hear you projecting your voice nicely. That's all that I have. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Mr. MC, it's all yours.
Thank you for the advice to Anson. And next, I would like to begin the panel evaluation for Jonathan.
Thank you, Toastmaster. I'll go first. Jonathan, I love your speech today. I would say that your spoken word that you spoke was clear. Now I can understand everything you said. Your vocabulary is growing. Your words are getting bigger. You're pronouncing them more precise now. You are growing. I noticed that when you spoke, you didn't have any notes as you spoke. I didn't see notes. Maybe I overlooked it, but you did an excellent job there. You use hand gestures. I could see you using hand gestures. Some hand gestures you could move forward in the camera, left and right, but you use a lot of hand gesture, which is good. You're progressing as a speaker. Your eye contact was great. You're growing. Some of the things that you might want to work on in the future is as you speak, I know you're in the virtual and you like sitting down, but try to stand up sometime and give you a speech. You're just too good to just be sitting still. Just stand up sometime, give your speech, and you have more confidence as you grow. And slow down a little bit. You were talking pretty fast, as if you were reading, but you did an excellent job just going a little bit fast. And I would say one other thing, in the future, as you speak, give more informative speeches. You're good at that. You do your research, and then you do the speech per your research. You do an excellent job at that. Thank you.
Jonathan, I just want to say the speech is very deep. The speech value is just very deep. You made me think that, hey, the writing make us to, I cannot even use the word you used. You described it very well. It is for our own growth, right? We write not to just to finish something we need to write, but to express ourselves and to grow, right? It's our uniqueness. So I appreciate the speech value. And even though it is a serious and deep speech, you added a lot of humor in it. The first part of the speech was written by ChatGPT, and you said, "Oh wow, that was written by ChatGPT." That was quite funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. How calm you were during your speech as well. It was so well prepared. And then your articulation, everything like that, it was just so nice. And I also really liked the topic of your speech. It was like just a topic that was so it was just so modern. And especially if you think about it, like there have always been things that can help us in other subjects such as math. And if you think about writing, it's one of the things that really requires more creativity. And it's just I really liked how you talked about how ChatGPT could even do that for us now. And instead of using it as just something to write for us, we should use that as a tool to help us, right?
Yeah, so I have just a couple of really quick comments. I just want to say to Jonathan, what an excellent demonstration on how to use notes virtually, right? I literally had to zoom in to see if you were in fact reading, and then I caught your eyes reading a little bit, and that was a really wonderful, a masterful job at using notes, but at the same time, keeping the audience suspended. We could not tell that you were reading. Excellent job. Who's up next?
This is Toastmaster Romy, and I was gonna say, I'm totally blind, so I don't see at all. And Jonathan, you did a really good job of convincing me that you were reading, but you weren't reading. So you were confident, you were persuasive, and I think that that's really a testament to you being able to speak persuasively and to use your notes to appear as if you got it, you got it, and you know your topic. It was obvious. So
Just out of curiosity, Jonathan, were you having a notes in front of you on your screen?
Yeah, I did have bullet points.
Okay, so do you have split screen? You have the Zoom meeting down here. You have okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I know. We'll use that too.
Very useful tool for online speeches. Thank you, Oprah, for that evaluation. Next, I'd like an evaluation for Daniel's speech.
I'll begin. Here's what I really, really liked about Daniel's speech. At the onset, he said, is essentially this speech, I'm doing this speech under pressure. For me, that's how I do my best work, by delaying, not necessarily procrastinating, one and the same, but by delaying to the night before, and then I know I have to produce. And you got there with your notes, and you set that stage for us. Hey guys, essentially, I just worked on this speech last night, but you did a wonderful job presenting it. You had your notes there for use, for, if you needed to, but you showed us that it is possible. We don't necessarily have to take that approach. Okay, I have 5 days to get this done. I'm going to use day 1 just to do my intro. I'm going to use day 2 to get to the transition to the body. I'm going to use day 3 to do the next piece. You did it all under pressure. And most people, I think, operates best under pressure. And you demonstrated that excellently.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Mr. Horace Taylor. In the beginning of your speech, you said it wasn't very well prepared, but like, if you didn't mention it, you couldn't even really tell.
I want to add something. Daniel, you did a very good job with the speech under the pressure. But I want to challenge you to bring something out of that frustration, out of that scrambling. What did you find? What the joy? If there's one joy you found from that finishing that project, what would it be? Would it be, wow, I finished it? Would that be the highlight of that whole experience? If that's the highlight, then mention that in your speech. Yeah, because that's what make your speech, bring it to a higher level, give people hope. Yeah, just suggestion. You can evaluate other people too.
Yeah, I didn't really have much to say because everyone's already said such good things. So I'd like to now begin the last evaluation for Joseph's speech.
I have comment. Joseph, excuse my but I enjoyed your speech today. You spoke about federalism and FEMA. You obviously put a lot of research into that, and you educated me also. But what I want to say to you, I like the way you use your visual aid. You asked permission before you started your speech to share a screen. That's a sign of growth. You knew you needed to use have a share screen, so you asked permission to do that, and it helped you with your speech. There again, your spoken word, your language was clear, it was understood. Vocal variety was right on time, targeted. Your eye contact, you look left, right, but you didn't make a lot of eye contact all over the place. It was direct. You're getting better at looking into your camera and looking away and coming right back to that. I would ask you to use a few more hand gestures, some type of more gestures, so we'll know that you're alive. You sort of stood there for a few minutes and spoke and moved a few hands, but that's all right till you're learning. And one other thing I would like to say, please pay attention to your time. I noticed that the red light was on, but you kept going. You were trying to finish your speech. However, if you ever, as a Toastmaster, now outside of Toastmaster, it's different. But in a Toastmaster, anytime you get short of time, just shorten your speech. But we don't need to know everything. We want you to fill your time, which is training. Once you get outside the club, that same speech could have been a 15-minute speech, which no one would have never known. But in Toastmaster, you had the red light on there for maybe a little longer than I thought you should have. So work on that. One other thing, when you do speeches, give more speeches. You know, you're good at speaking. Do your research and then give more speeches. And as you give more speeches, you will get better. Overall, you gave a great speech. They was very informative. Thank you.
Joseph, I just want to say, it's amazing how comfortable you are with your subject. And you're very smooth, very organized. The whole speech is very organized. A lot of information in there, but you laid out the whole speech in a very logical manner. And of course, like Don said, the visual aids is outstanding. I like the colors and all that template. So it is very well done. And
Yeah, so I have a couple of comments. First, I echo both Don and Anna, but I think what you did for us showed this process that we have in Toastmasters, or at least in the adult version of Toastmasters, a pathway that's called presentation mastery, right? You did a wonderful master's level job at presenting material to the audience. Not only did you do that, but you also showed for me how important civics is to remain a core subject in high schools, or in any school for that matter. Then in one of your slides, as Anna has already noted, the color was perfect, but one of your slides, when you went to the black and white transition slides, to me it added, at least for my eyes, it gave a 3D effect. And I was like, how did he do that? That's pretty neat. But then near the end, I think it was your last slide, I would just say, check the font size, because you had this wonderful big font throughout. And then the last slide that dealt with balancing the states right, the bullets were really small font wise, and you had a whole lot of real estate that you could have occupied with that. But other than that, I thought it was a wonderful presentation. As I said, a master's level presentation. And here's what my last note is. I hope that you are organizing for your graduating class voters registration during commencement practice, or even on commencement day, so that when you walk across that stage, you know not only are you graduating, but you are a registered voter and you can vote that year. That's all that I have.
I just wanted to add on to what everyone else said about how much they learned about your speech. I actually have friends who live in Galveston, Texas, who went through the big outage, and they were like updating me throughout the whole thing about like how they were like literally camping out in their living room, and I just didn't know anything that was going on really behind the scenes with like the government and everything. I like how much detail you included and how much I learned from your speech.
Thank you, everyone, for those excellent evaluations. I would now like to return control to Toastmaster Horace Taylor for his timers report on today's meeting.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, for speaker number one, Gavel Anson spoke for 4 minutes exactly. Jonathan Shen spoke for 5 minutes, 18 seconds. Gavel Daniel Wu spoke for 2 minutes and 49 seconds. And Gavel Joseph Chen closed us out with 9 minutes and 12 seconds. Wonderfully done. Now, the evaluations in general, since we were all adding comments, input. For Anson's speech, we gave him an evaluation that totaled 2 minutes and 5 seconds. For Jonathan's speech, we totaled 4 minutes, 20 seconds. And then for Mr. Daniel Wu, again, we came in with 2 minutes, 15 seconds, and we closed the evaluation section out with Mr. Joseph Chen at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for this excellent speech where I enjoyed all of the speeches and the evaluations. I believe were really helpful for everyone to take advice on. That is it for today's meeting. Should we do roles for next week?
Yes, oh, we'll mention next week's meeting format. Next week is the last meeting of this